On May 29, 1901,
Anders Gjerten Andersen Kolbeinsvik was born in Kolbeinsvik, Astrid, Norway.
the youngest of 9,
Anders was son of Anders Zachariasen Drønen Kolbeinsvik
and his wife, Gertrud Kari Hansdatter Drønen, daughter of Hans Martin Amundsen and Kristi Johansdatter Drønen before them. Back in the day, and even sometimes now, it was common for a person's name to be constructed of 3 things. First, your given name, Anders Gjerten. Second, whose son or daughter you are, Andersen being the son of Anders, or Anders' daughter being the daughter of Anders. And lastly, one's name would hold their place of birth. For Anders,
that was Kolbeinsvik.
Anders Gjerten, son of Anders,
Was born in Kolbeinsvik.
and was affectionately known as Andy.
Andy spent the first 18 years of his life living at Kolbeinsvik 85 in Astrid, Norway.
Until traveling to the US with his 17-year-old friend,
Johans O. Kolbeinsvik.
together on the 5th of February 1920, they boarded the Stavanger Fjord in Kristiania, Norway, arriving in the United States on February 18th of 1920. They were going to stay with Anders' cousin, Zacharias Olsen Drønen, his Aunt Carrie's son. While there, they helped Andy's cousin, spending those 10 months as farmers on Zacharias' farm, until returning to Norway in December of that same year. 6 years later, in 1926, Andy was back in the States, coming in from Montreal, Canada through Michigan. This time, it was citizenship that Andy was seeking. Anders spent about 3 months in Montreal, though his exact residence is unknown. On August 13th of 1926,
Anders Gjerten Andersen Kolbeinsvik arrived in Detroit, Michigan.
and from there, traveled to Chicago, Illinois, where he finally settled down with his older brother, Zacharias Andersen, affectionately known as Sam. In his immigration papers, Anders lists his purpose for coming to the US as work, and this time lists himself as a mechanic rather than the previous farmer. All this time, Andy had a sweetheart back at home in Norway, anxiously waiting for his return. Astrid Olasdatter Lotsberg was born on June 16th of 1906 in Fjellberg, Norway, to her mother Anne-Marie Knutsdatter Holme and her father Ola Andersen Lotsberg, Bjørtveit Stor. Anne-Marie and Ola lived in Lotsberg, Norway until about 1905, when Ola took a job as a schoolmaster, and the two moved down south to Fjellberg, Norway, where they would give birth to 3 children, including Astrid. During the latter months of 1924, Astrid, 18 at the time, met Anders at a party for Julefest, a Nordic holiday celebration. While alive, Anders documented this historic event in a letter for his family to enjoy years to come.
I was engaged to a young lady and discovered she was cheating on me. I broke the engagement and swore off women. Inge-Brigt wanted me to take care of Astrid at the Julefest. But I told her, no way, I've had it. I came to the party anyway, and Inge-Brigt paired me up with Astrid for the Christmas tree walk. It was instant for me. I knew it would be her right then.
They married January 5th of 1929.
Many years after the events in this letter occurred, Anders told his daughter that he and Astrid had gone out for a walk during the church party they met at. Astrid showed her affections for Anders when she buttoned up the top of his jacket to keep him from cold. It was that moment that he knew that one day he and Astrid would wed, but little did they know it would take them the next 5 years to finally be together. In 1926, Anders immigrated to the United States, but it wasn't until 1928 that Astrid tried to join him. According to immigration passenger lists, on March 9th of 1928, when she was just 22, Astrid's first attempt to enter the United States via Canada was unsuccessful. But she appealed this decision and was again dismissed on June 9th of 1928. She was then deported back to Norway the following month. The Nordenfjeldska Line steamship passenger list shows Astrid was headed back to the States by August 24th of 1928. Astrid arrived in Quebec, where she would then be detained and deported for the second time. After Astrid was denied entry to the US twice, Anders made the tough decision of returning to Norway to be with his love, and the two of them finally married in Fjellberg on January 5th of 1929. On their Norway emigration record dated March 22nd of 1929, Astrid and Anders say that they have just been visiting the old country, Norway, for 3 months and are now returning to the United States. This time, Astrid and Anders would be entering the United States together. Their port of entry? New York, New York, April 2nd, 1929. Little did they know, they were returning to a country that was on the verge of economic collapse. By April, Astrid and Anders returned to Chicago, and on October 5th, their first child, Gladys Annie Andersen, was born. But less than 3 weeks later, the U.S. stock market crashed, sending the nation into a 10-year depression. It was the worst economic downturn in modern history, lasting from 1929 to 1939. According to the 1930 U.S. federal census, Astrid and Anders rented an apartment at 1944 North Fairfield Avenue in Chicago. The building still stands today. In March of that year, Gladys was baptized within 4 minutes of walking distance from their home at Salem Evangelical Free Church at the corner of West McLean Street and North California Avenue. Many family photos were taken fondly at Humboldt Park near their Fairfield home. Their second child, Agnes Olive Andersen, was born June 18, 1931. Unfortunately, this was 6 months after the passing of Anders' father.
Anders Zachariasen Drønen Kolbeinsvik.
In addition to Andy, Astrid, and their 2 children, 3 young men lived with them as boarders: Clarence Westby, Ludvig Osko, and Samuel Andersen. Ludvig and Samuel, by all accounts, disappeared from Anders and Astrid's lives, but Clarence came to be a longtime family friend, even after the family moved around the corner to 2908 West Cortlandt Street in the early 30s. By the fall of 1934, Gladys had started kindergarten across the street at Yates School. Shortly after this, Anders petitioned the U.S. for citizenship. In this document, Anders legally changed his name to Andrew Andersen, and on December 5th of 1934, Andrew Andersen was granted U.S. citizenship. Early in 1935, with the Great Depression still raging, Astrid became pregnant with twins and decided to return to Fjellberg with Gladys and Agnes to deliver her babies with the support of her mother. They agreed that Andy would stay behind to hold down the fort in the U.S. Having been pulled from her school in the States, Gladys, now 5 years old in Norway, followed her grandpa Ola to the school that he taught at each day instead. She recalls the walk to school was long and cold, and that Grandpa Ola always had a pot of coffee on the stove in the schoolhouse. He would drink straight from the pot as all the kids put their wet boots and mittens to warm around the stove. Maybe it was because their household had grown with the arrival of Astrid and her daughters, or maybe it had been the plan all along. But by the time April of 1935 came around, Grandpa Ola decided to retire from teaching and move to Leirvik Stord. Oddly enough, this was recorded in the 1940 U.S. federal census. Ola, known to the residents of Fjellberg as the Old Church Guardian, was honored and recognized for his service to Fjellberg in this newspaper clipping. Eventually, Gladys and Agnes became fully immersed in Norwegian culture. Their family, food, education, language, and music taste had all moved on from America. Even their clothing was Norwegian, including their very own benads, traditional and regional clothing handmade by their mother for the Norwegian Independence Day celebration. On September 23rd of 1935, the twins Bjorg and Ruth were born. In just one day, 2 daughters became 4 for Astrid and Andrew. Meanwhile, back in Chicago, despite being in the thick of the Great Depression, Andy is lucky to find work as a carpenter. He even makes time for a camping trip with some of his close friends at Lake Geneva in Wisconsin. In the height of the Great Depression, the winter of 1935, Astrid made her way to Norway with 2 children by herself, and this time she'll leave with 4, taking care of them all by herself on their journey to the States. Together, the five depart from Bergen on the SS Stavanger Fjord on August 6th of 1936, and arrive 9 days later in New York on August 14th. This date would be recorded as Astrid's first legal entry into the US when she applies for citizenship. By the time the five of them return, their home had been changed once again to 2848 West McLean Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. The children were more than happy to be back home with their father again, and upon their return, Andrew got to meet his twins for the first time. Now that they were back in the States, it was time for Gladys to return to school. Not knowing any English and having missed a year of school in Norway, Gladys was enrolled in the Christ Evangelical Lutheran School location, where she had to cover 2 grades of schooling in just 1 year. She recalls getting to school by walking down the road from her house, turning left at the intersection with the big church, and the next building was hers. In October of 1936, Gladys turned 7 years old, but still needed to complete 2 grades and learn English while doing so. She credits her 2 teachers, Mrs. Diver and Mr. Feddersen, for helping her achieve her goals. The 1930s were a much different time than now, according to Gladys. She recalls there being a disciplinary cage out in the main hall of her school for students to sit or stand in when they got in trouble. Students who passed by the cage would make fun of those stuck inside it. She also remembers that several teachers from her school would often come to their home on McLean Avenue and visit her mother, Astrid. They would have a wonderful time, filled with laughter and fun. In the summer of 1939, toward the end of the Great Depression, Andrew and Astrid purchased their very first house at 3643 North Paris Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, and lived there until the mid-60s. The new home was located within walking distance of Grace Street School, where Gladys would begin 5th grade and Agnes 3rd. Within weeks of their move, tragedy struck the world. On September 1st of 1939, World War II began. Nazi Germany had occupied parts of Norway from 1940 until 1945, but back in the States, Andrew and Astrid spoke nothing of the danger their Norwegian family was facing. It was a stressful task, but a measure that had to be taken to protect the children. For a time, life in the US continued seemingly unaffected by the war. On October 29th of 1940, Astrid gave birth to their 5th daughter, Dorothy. She was born in the basement of their new house on Paris Avenue. About 2 weeks after the celebration of Dorothy's birth, Astrid and Andrew's family turned from celebrating life to mourning the death of Astrid's mother, who passed away in Stord sometime during Hitler's occupation of Norway. After going through so much together, Astrid, Andrew, and their children continued to cherish their freedom in the United States. On December 7th of 1941, tragedy struck on U.S. soil. Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese Air Force, forcing the U.S. to enter the war. The attack on U.S. soil caused President Roosevelt to put a rush on U.S.-Canadian plans to build an Alaskan highway known as the Alcan Highway, which connected Alaska to mainland Canada for easy transport of supplies. The highway needed to be completed quickly because of the threat of another Japanese attack. In addition to the Army Corps of Engineers, civilian men were hired. Andrew Andersen was one of them. From March till November of 1942, Astrid was once again on her own to raise her 5 daughters, while Andrew worked in Alaska with over 10,000 other men to build the highway. Though it was difficult being apart for so long, their family needed the money to boost their finances. Having survived the Great Depression and worked through the Second World War, Astrid and Andrew once again demonstrated their grit and resilience. By the end of November 1942, the highway was complete, and Andrew could return home to his family. It was during this time that Astrid was finally naturalized as a citizen of the United States of America. World War II ended in September of 1945, and Astrid once again experienced the loss of a parent. Astrid's father passed away the following summer of 1946. In 1947, they would come to face yet another death in the family, that of Andrew's mother, Gertrude. During the next few years, Anders and Astrid kept busy providing for themselves and their daughters. All of the girls now attended Grace Street School through 8th grade, then completed their high school years at Steinmetz High School. May of 1947, Their firstborn daughter, Gladys, graduated high school, and in September, Astrid gave birth to their first son, Roy Andrew Andersen. Finally, in the fall, Astrid and Andy became involved with a group of neighbors interested in the construction of a Presbyterian church in Irvingwood, Illinois. Andrew broke ground for the new church that would be located at 3900 North Plainfield Avenue. On November 28th of 1948, the Irvingwood Community Presbyterian Church was officially established, and Andrew Andersen is recorded as the second elder in the roll of elders. Andrew, Astrid, Gladys, Agnes, Bjorg, and Ruth are among the first 8 members of the church. Dorothy enrolled later to be number 218, but Roy would never enroll. Gladys was the first of Astrid and Andrew's children to get married at the church. The records show that she and Richard Magnuson married at her parents' home on Paris Avenue. Agnes was the 7th on the wedding registry, Ruthie was the 16th, and Dorothy the 13th. By 1953, at least 300 members of the Arlington Community Presbyterian Church voted for Astrid to be awarded the Good Citizen Award, sponsored by the local radio station WNBQ. Her dedication to her family and to serving her community speak volumes of her tenacity and love. As the years pass, eventually all of the Andersen girls get married and move out of the house on Paris Avenue. Roy, still school age, is the last child to stay with Astrid and Andrew. By 1959, Andrew and Dick Magnuson, Gladys's husband, begin building a house for Gladys and Dick's young family. At the time, the address was 818 West Channel Drive. Though all their daughters were grown, married, and starting families of their own, each daughter managed to live close enough for frequent get-togethers and fun bonding experiences. In 1960, Andrew and Astrid returned to their motherland for a timely visit. Little did they know that in 3 years' time, Astrid would no longer be with them. After their trip to Norway in 1961, Andrew, Astrid, and Roy finally left the city and moved to the suburbs of Chicago. Their new home was located at Iroquois Trail, McHenry, Illinois. During the years, Astrid had often expressed feelings of being old, even as a young woman in her 50s. Gladys recalls her mother often saying in her native tongue, "Det tufft å være gammel," which translates to, "It's tough to be old." On May 29th of 1963, at the much too young age of 57, Astrid passed away. Her death certificate indicates coronary occlusion as the cause of death. President Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd of the same year. One of Astrid's granddaughters recalls hearing the funeral music for the president on the radio, sure that the whole world was mourning the passing of her grandma Astrid instead. After Astrid's unfortunate passing, Andrew felt he could no longer stay in the Iroquois Trail house without her. Sometime between 1964 and 1965, Andrew and Dick took on the task of building another house on West Luana Lane, Ingleside, Illinois. He and Roy moved into the Luana house sometime before the summer of 1965. That summer, Roy stayed in their new home while Andrew made a trip to Norway. When Andrew came home, his family welcomed him with a big surprise party celebrating his return. Despite the happy return, soon Andrew would experience more upsetting news. September 26th of 1965, Andrew's brother Sam had passed away. Sam had been a big part of Andrew's life in the U.S. since the first day Andrew immigrated to live with him. It would be another hard loss. The month after Sam's passing, Andrew found a way to bring some happiness to the family by marrying his second wife, Marion Ebel. Together they lived the rest of their lives in the West Luana home in Ingleside. Just the next year, Andrew and Astrid's last child would find himself married too. That December, the family celebrated the union of Roy Andersen and Judith Graves. Together they bought the Pistaki Highlands house from Andrew and continue to live there to this day. In 1972, Andrew made another trip, this time to visit southwest Missouri where his eldest daughter Gladys and one of the twins, Ruth, had settled. Around the time of his trip, more sad news befell the Andersen family, as Andrew was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He left the family with a few letters he wrote to his eldest child, Gladys.
February 8, 1974. Dear Gladys and yours, thanks for your nice long letter. I have a couple of things to write about. First, in your letter before this one, you talked about your aunts in Norway. And you write Astrid, it is Agnes, and it is her daughter Annbjørg, who is a teacher and lives close to her folks, and who also speaks English. She would take care of things for you at Lervik. That is where the cousins on Ma's side is, and if you really go, you have 2 cousins in Kolbeinsvik and 1 in Sund who speaks English. I would write to Magnus. He works for himself, and I'm sure he would arrange things for you and take you around. You will find them very nice. Hazel Riley called the other day. She had heard I was sick, and she was wondering if Linnell would send her the information she has on her father's side, same as mine in regards to our forefathers. I feel much better. Seems the pills I am taking is working. They will last 20 days. It is hard to believe anything is wrong because I feel so good. I have to watch myself in eating. It is so easy to gain weight. It was wasted money on the spoken Norwegian. She has opened it only once. I can see how you will have trouble with it if you don't know the sounds of the letters. That's why I don't quite agree with the method they use. A student should learn the sounds of the letters and then you could read. I know it is hard because there is no sound in the English language to compare it with. For example, Ö, Y, and Å. Ö sounds like U in up, but keep the mouth, the lips round. Ö is like fair, but not exactly. Y and Å got to be heard. I am dreaming about coming down there in the spring. I have heard about Ruth and her troubles with the kids. I think Ruth is old enough and sensible enough to do what is right. And I don't think she should let herself be influenced too much by immature kids. It could be much better for the kids, but they are too young to realize it. And Ruth is not obliged to listen to them. She should do what she thinks is best for herself and the children. I am working on a landscape for Jimmy. Have a Viking boat ready for Dick. Lots of snow here. Love to all of you, Dad and Grandpa. May 29, 1974. Dear Gladys and all yours, I haven't got much to write about, but I feel I should send you a few lines. Roy got a job again. He was off less than 2 weeks. He has also sold his bike. I am to take care of Eric today. Dorothy and Judy is out clowning. I had a nice letter from Hilda, your aunt from Fjellberg, yesterday. You know, I told her at Christmas that you plan to visit Norway this summer, and she says she can't believe that she is going to meet Astrid's oldest daughter and granddaughter. So I wrote to her again and told the disappointing news, but I explained about the big farm you had inherited and that you had to buy a lot of machinery and as many cows as you could afford. So she will understand, but you must not forget about it. Maybe next year. It would be great for you to see your aunts. The boys from Norway will not be here before sometime in July. We plan to take them along for a trip down to Missouri and see you. I owe Ruth a letter. Say hello to her, and we will see you in a few days. Love from Dad to you all.
Before the decade was over, Andrew managed to make a few more trips to Missouri to visit his kids. Sometime after his diagnosis, Andrew had done something he always wanted to do. He had taken up painting as a hobby. He would paint pictures of Viking ships, the wilderness, and oceans on canvas. He gave one painting to almost every member of his family, something for them to look back on and remember him fondly for. On April 25th of 1980, Andrew lost his battle with cancer. 6 years prior, foreseeing the end of his life, Andrew had written his farewell address as follows.
February 3, 1974. To all my loved ones, I have had a good life. With that, I mean God gave me a mind that appreciated the small blessings in life, and I always thank God for leading me to this country. I have probably failed to bring my children up in a strict belief, and that is because I was not sure myself what the truth is. However, when I lay myself down at night, I always pray, "In thy hands I commit my spirit." So I have no strong fear of death. I rest in the everlasting arms of God and trust in Christ in the promises He has given us. I say this to my children and all theirs. You have given me a lot of joy in life. And God be with you and guide you till we, as I strongly hope, shall meet again. Dad and Grandpa Andrew.
Though they are no longer with us on this earthly plane, Andrew and Astrid's loving and fun-loving spirits continue on through their children, their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and even their great-great-grandchildren forever. The Andersen family will never forget everything that Andrew and Astrid have done for them. This is the story of Anders and Astrid.
Hi, my name is Gladys, and I'm the oldest daughter of Andrew and Astrid Andersen.
Hi, I'm Linnell, and I am the granddaughter of Andrew and Astrid Andersen.
I am Shannon from Linnell, and I am Astrid and Andrew's great-granddaughter.
I am Shacy Mincerati, and I am a great-granddaughter of Astrid and Andrew.
Hi everybody, I'm Harvey Rosenblum.
And I'm Donna Rosenblum, Harvey's wife, and we live in Connecticut in the USA.
And Sam Andersen is my maternal grandfather, and he is the older brother of Andrew.
Hello, I'm Eric Andersen. I am the son of Roy Andersen Sr., and I am the grandson of Andy and Astrid.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I'm Eric's wife.
Hi, my name is Reed. I'm Eric's son and the great-grandson of Andy and Astrid.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah. Eric is my father, and my great-grandparents are Andy and Astrid.
Hallo, jeg heter Jan Torres Nordstrand. Jeg Kerstin kona mi, og vi bor på Storebø, ikke så langt fra Kolbeinsvik i Norge. Og jeg barnebarnet til Anders' søster, Oline Andersdotter Kolbeinsvik. I am Jan Torres Nordstrand, and this is my wife, Kerstin. We live in Storebø, not far from Kolbeinsvik in Norway. I am paternal grandson of Anders' sister, Oline Andersdotter Kolbeinsvik.
Hallo alle slektninger. Jeg Inge-Brigt Storebø, og dette kona mi, Randi Solstad.
Hello.
And I am Inge-Brigt Storebø, and this is my wife Randi Solstad. I am the great-grandchild of Anders and Zacharias Brøn and Gjertrud Hansdotter Brøn, the parents of Andrew, Zacharias and my grandfather Ole Andersen Kolbeinsvik.
Hei, dette er Per Nordstrand og kona mi. Vi barnebarn til Anders' søster Oline, bor i Kolbeinsvik. Hi, I am Per Nordstrand. This is my wife, Irene. I am one of the grandsons of Anders' sister, Oline. And we live in Kolbeinsvik, 10 minutes walk from the old farm.
Yes, here I am, my granddaughter Teresa. We have a good time. Bye.
Hi, I'm Debbie Wilkie Black. I am the daughter of Ruth and Wayne Wilkie, the granddaughter of Astrid and Andy Andersen.
I'm Shirley Ruth Wilkie Ruth, daughter of Wayne and Ruthie Andersen Wilkie, granddaughter of Astrid and Andy Andersen.
I'm their brother Gene Andrew Wilkie, and my dad was Wayne. My mom was Ruth. You know who my grandparents are, but you just heard it. All right.
Thank you.
Y'all.
That's
Have
it.
a great
Bye.
day.
Hi, I'm Diane Dreyer. I am the granddaughter of Andy and Astrid Andersen, and my mom was Ruth Andersen, and I live in the St. Louis area. My mom, Ruth Andersen, had 5 children. My oldest sister is Debbie, then me. We had Brian, who died at 48 with pancreatic cancer, Jean, and then Shirley. Sorry, it's a windy day, but it's nice out here. Here is a picture of my grandparents and my mom. And also I have 3 boys, Rob, Blake, and Chris Housewright. And then we have grandchildren, Kelsey and Madison, Chloe, and Chase Housewright. And now 1 great-grandson, Caden Rosine. So I just wanted to be a part of Linnell's work. Thank you, Linnell. And we appreciate everything you've done. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Byer. I am Charlene Bliss Byer's daughter. I am the granddaughter of Agnes, and I am the great-granddaughter of Anders and Astrid. I currently live in Los Angeles, California. That's Bella. We rescued her about a year ago. I hope everyone's doing well. Look forward to watching the videos. Take care, everyone. Bye, Bella. Oh, that was her tail. Bye.
Hello.
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 Hello. We're the Sullivan family. My name is Gail, and I am firstborn of Patrick and Bjorg. And I have 3 kids, Jesse, Shauna, and DJ, and 6 grandkids, Kaya, Lila, Sebastian, Jack, Addie, and Theodore. Now go to Pat, he's next in line. Oh, okay.
I am not next in line, but
yes, you are. In the
I am Patrick
genealogy.
Sullivan Jr. Also grandson to Andy and Astrid. I have 5 kids: Benjamin, Caitlin. What's the next one's name? Anna, Aaron, and Meg, the baby. And 1 grandchild. His name is Henry. dapper little young man.
Yep.
And I guess that's it.
Hi, I'm Carrie, granddaughter of Andrew and Astrid, and my mom, again, is Bjorg, and my father is Pat Sullivan. And I'm married to Jim Avenshine, and I have 2 boys, Alex and Max.
Hello, I am Ellen. I am I believe, the youngest female of the grandchildren of Astrid and Andy. My dad was Pat, my mom was Bjorg, who also lovingly was B. And I am married to Angelo, and I have 3 daughters, Amber, Kristen, and Callie, and I have 4 grandchildren. And other than that, I think we are all very blessed to be part of this wonderful family, and we miss the ones that have gone before us, and we hope to see everyone else more often. That's it.
Goodbye.
See you at the reunion.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
My name is Roy Andersen. I'm Andrew and Astrid's only son. I have 5 older sisters and 2 sons. This is my wife Judy. I have 6 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild on the way.
I'm Judy Andersen, Roy's wife. We live in McHenry, Illinois. I'm Lynn Magnuson from Bolivar, Missouri. I'm the wife of the late Dick Magnuson Jr., who was the eldest grandson of Astrid and Andrew Andersen. I have 3 sons, David, Jacob, and Gabriel. Jacob and his daughter Elizabeth are not able to be here today. This is my son, Dave.
I'm Dave Magnuson. This is my family here. They'll introduce themselves in a second. We live in Panama City, Florida.
I'm Anders, his son.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Heather.
I'm the youngest son of Lynn Magnuson. I'm Gabriel Magnuson. This is my family.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Kat.
And we live in Bolivar, Missouri.
I'm Jennifer Magnuson, daughter of Jeff and Rhonda Magnuson, and this is my son Grayson, and we live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm Andrew Carl Magnuson. I come from Jeff and Rhonda. This is my wife, Karina Glushko Magnuson.
And we live in Chantilly, Virginia.
Yay!